to say that Texas State has some new faces on the roster would be an understatement. Obviously, there's GJ Kinne, the new head coach. And you mentioned it, 53 new scholarship players. That's just like, I can't even wrap my head around that. So even in this transfer portal happy world, that's a pretty incredible number. How much of an unknown does that, make these Bobcats for you? I mean, as someone who follows the team, and then among those new players, who's somebody that we should kind of keep an eye on?
Yeah, well, I'll say from a coverage standpoint, it made for great content all off season. 53 guys to write about and talk about, and it was fantastic.
It's a football team. That's what that is. I mean, it's a whole new team.
It's two recruiting classes in one. It's pretty remarkable. I definitely hadn't seen anything like that here. What's crazier is that it's only the second biggest in the nation behind Colorado. What they're doing with 70 over there. It's just that, it's the era. And I think everyone's also taking advantage of the no allotment, the 25 scholarship allotment. But I've heard that ends after this year where they're going to go back to it, but I'm not exactly sure what's going on with that. But teams are taking advantage, and the Bobcats definitely did. And yeah, from a coverage standpoint, all you can really do is you look at them on paper and you say, well, this guy's coming from a P5. I think it's something 20 some odd players are from P5 schools, which is usually an upgrade coming to Texas State. You look at that and you're like, oh, okay, this looks like they are upgrading at certain positions, but you don't really know till you see it on the field. And you can see it in practice, but they haven't let us been watching 11 on 11. So we only really see like the individual drills at the beginning and the warm-ups. And so there's quite a bit of unknowns. I mean, the entire offensive line is brand new guys. Those are all new guys, all five of the starters. The quarterback's going to be new. The tight end is new. There's the running back. There's a couple receivers. There's a couple guys on defense, but otherwise everybody's new. You still have holdovers on like the D line and at linebacker, but all the DBs are brand new guys, and you can be told, hey, this guy's a really good player. Hey, he came from this other place where he just didn't get a shot, and that's why he's coming here to actually get a shot and play, trying to bounce back. This guy was a former 5-star. Now he's coming to Texas State because he couldn't play. We don't know until we see it on Saturday. And going against Baylor, it's obviously that's a weighted test right there. That's an opponent that is going to be much better than the Bobcats, at least on paper. I mean, you never know any given Saturday, but when you look at it, that's the way it's going to shake out. So with all of that being said, it's going to be a lot of evaluation on the coach's side, on my side, on fan side of this team, and I would fully expect them to unload the roster at some point in this game. Even at the quarterback position. Quarterback one is obviously the one that everyone is the most interested about, with two SEC transfers, Auburn transfer, TJ Finley, and Arkansas transfer, Malik Hornsby. Hornsby came first in January, was here for the spring, and then they added Finley in the summer. So Hornsby has that little bit of an advantage that he was here in the spring. A little bit of a heads up on this offense, this fast-paced offense that GJ Kinne likes to do. It's been compared actually to our Briles, the run and shoot style offense. It's a variation on that. You see it in a lot of high school teams as well. Mm-hmm. And it's where it's fast-paced, but it's not just passing. There's a lot of running involved in it as well. And so with that being said, Malik Hornsby is more the speedster, dual threat. He runs the ball a lot. You look at Incarnate Word's offense last year with Lindsey Scott Jr. He ran the ball a lot, was that dual threat, won the Walter Payton Award, scored like 60 touchdowns, something like that, a crazy amount at the FCS level. So you could see why maybe they would lean towards somebody like Malik Hornsby. But everything every time I go out there, it seems like you see TJ Finley coming out first. You see his arm in practice, and he has a really, really strong arm. And he's completely different style of player than Malik Hornsby. Malik Hornsby, speedster, as I said, track star. And then you look at TJ Finley, 6'7", 250, not the fastest guy, but he's got a cannon. Not a ton of touch deep, but man, anything intermediate throws, it's there. It feels like when he lets go of the ball, it's there twice as fast as the other guy's passing. So you definitely see the difference there. So I fully expect to see both. I expect to see a lot of you might see all 53 of those players we just talked about. even a lot of the true freshmen. There was only 7 true freshmen, high school players in that 53-man class, just to show you. The rest are transfers and JUCO. But even some of those true freshmen are getting in the mix, like Chris Don, Jalazen Landry, Bammy Badusi. Some of these guys, these true freshmen may even get out there. So you're going to see a lot of different Bobcats on Saturday. It's a long-winded way of me to tell you that for sure.
You know, obviously players have their names on the back of their jerseys. I feel like they should have "Hello, my name is," a little sticker right here. I mean, it's just insane. And I expect, the 2023 season for the Bobcats will be a lot of get to know you, because, I don't think they're going to be able to evaluate them all after just this one game against Baylor. There's going to be, a lot of figuring out their identity over these, probably first 4 or 5 games at least. So,
yeah, chance, Keff, we see the Baylor transfer quarterback. I know he's probably down the depth chart a little bit, but
CJ Rogers, I got to give him credit because I mentioned Malik Hornsby was here in the spring, so it was CJ Rogers and Malik Hornsby, and Rogers was hanging with Hornsby the whole spring, even in the fall camp. They've said, hey, Rogers is in the mix, he's getting a shot. Well, everybody knows it's kind of been a 2-man race ever since Finley got here. But he's stayed competitive. He's really he's worthy of playtime. I think when you look at the 2 guys ahead of him, you understand why he might be 3rd on the depth chart. But he is somebody, he came a long way from last year to this year. He got here so late from Baylor and didn't play at all last year. Probably should have gotten a shot last year. When they didn't let another quarterback take a snap last season besides Lane Hatcher, and that didn't work out well. And so maybe they should have tried him out, especially because spring was the first time we really got to see him. He's a pretty special player himself, and he played in the run and shoot in high school at Argyle, won a state championship, 16-0 at Argyle, and so he's familiar with this offense. I wouldn't mind seeing him get a shot either, just because the whole Baylor ties, everything you just said, Zach. I mean, that would be pretty cool for him. I know last year after the Baylor game, or I think it might have been before the game, a bunch of Baylor players mobbed him and jumped up on him and were saying hi to him and everything. So I could tell he still has some friends there. Victor Obi's a Bobcat as well too at defensive line. So, maybe we could see him get in there. Lots of Baylor ties. Landry Kinne is GJ Kinne's brother. I'm sure y'all have talked plenty about that. And then GJ's dad is Gary Joe Kinne, Baylor grad.
Yeah, and GJ himself, I was mentioning this to Zach the other day. So when he was coming out of high school as a quarterback, he was a Baylor commit. He never did sign with Baylor, but there was certainly a lot of thought that he was going to come here, and then he flipped and whatever. But yeah, Gary Joe is he both played and coached at Baylor. Gary Joe Kinne, GJ's dad. So there you go.